What's up guys, this is my Honda 400EX, and in the last video we tore this thing all the way apart, and as you can see there is no engine in it right now, and that's because the fourth gear in the engine was completely gone. It was shattered into a million pieces. So we took the engine apart, got it on the bench, and diagnosed what was wrong. So in the last video we tore this engine all the way down. We found these two gears that were just completely annihilated. So I ordered two brand new ones from Honda. They were on back order. They finally came in and we installed them in this engine. Now we left off, I had the bottom end pretty much all back together. I had tried installing this Chinese cylinder with a Pro X piston, but there's some manufacturing issues with this cylinder. Those bolt heads over there stick out. These right here, these stick out just a little bit, so we won't be able to use this. And then on this side, we had a problem where our Tusk clutch kit that we ordered did not fit this basket. So I went on Amazon, ordered a new clutch kit. This is like a $30 kit. And honestly, I've ran these before in other machines, and I've never had an issue, so I don't think we'll have an issue there. Honestly, this Tusk stuff is probably made in China anyways, made in Taiwan. So I have the plates. Well, I guess all the oil leaked out, but the plates were soaking in here. You're supposed to soak them in oil. So let's get started by putting the rest of this side of the engine together. It should be pretty straightforward. We just have to put the clutch plates in, the pressure plate, the springs, and then I think all we got to do is put the cover on. Alright, so I got this plate that was already in here, and that was just because I wanted to make sure that this clutch kit fit. And basically all we got to do is alternate the steel rings with the fiber rings, plates, whatever you would like to call them. And then we just go this way, that way. Alright, now that our plates are all installed, now we can put our pressure plate, which, where is our pressure plate? It's over here. Let's see, let me get all this out. Alright, so I'm realizing now I probably should replace this outer pressure plate. Oh well. You do have a bearing right here. Now our Chinese clutch kit did come with a new bearing, but this one seems to be fine. You also have this little push rod guy. That goes in there like that. This thing right here goes like that. The Chinese kit did come with some new springs. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. It just depends on how much harder they are. They are just a little bit taller than the stock springs, and they definitely look like a heavier gauge. This is going to be a stock engine, so I'm going to just put the stock ones back in. Now, these are a little thicker, they're a little taller. It's going to make that clutch pull a little harder. These Chinese ones will probably hold more power just because of the sheer, the different size of them. But this is going to be a stock engine, and I would prefer an easy pulling clutch. Then you have 5 bolts. These are kind of a special bolt. They have a really big hat on them, really big flange, whatever would you like to call it. So we're just going to thread all these in by hand at first. Now you do want to be careful because the threaded posts that these go into are brittle. So I'm just going to drive them in with my impact here, and I'm just going to be very easy. We are going to torque them down. Now we'll torque them to 7 foot-pounds. I think the manual might say like 6 point something. It's easier for me just to do 7 foot-pounds. Alright, now before we can install this, I previously Cerakoted this and stuck it in my oven. So I want to replace this seal right here. This seal, we got a new one in our Tusk oil seal kit. And this oil seal right here goes on the crankshaft. And basically, how this works is, you see how the crankshaft is hollow. The oil is pumped through the filter, through here, and then it gets pumped into the crankshaft and oils the crankshaft. So, like I said, I had put this in the oven, and I don't know if it damaged this seal or whatever, but we have a new one, so let's install it. Take this circlip out. Make sure you watch your eyes and make sure it doesn't go flying. I'm sure they have the correct tool here, but, correct seal tool. But that one popped right out. Beautiful. So here is our new one. Alright, so I just greased up this seal just a little bit right here. And it should push in pretty easy. make sure you push it in square. Yep. I even got this socket right here just to double make sure. You shouldn't need to use a hammer or anything. It seems like that went all the way in. And the next thing we'll do is install our circlip. Like that. Beautiful. So we don't have to worry about that being no good anymore. Alright, before you install our clutch cover, we do need to install our oil pump gear. And that just goes right there, like that. There's no clip or anything, it just sits on there like that, and the cover holds it on. Alright, so at this point, we'll put our cover on. Let's go here. Just wiggle it. This seal right here, there we go. Alright, went right on. So now I gotta figure out my bolt situation. Now I think, let's see, does this guy go here? Yeah, I think that guy goes there. This is for a reverse mechanism. And I hate how this clutch cover that I refinished, not only is it getting greasy, which should clean off, but putting this ugly stuff right back on here like this. Great. Now these threads are not cooperating. Okay, got the threads chased out, went over the tap on the bolt, die, whatever it's called. So here I am putting the clutch cover on for like the 7th time. Maybe the 3rd. There we go. Alright, that seems like it's working. Okay, let's start where we just were. Alright, there we go. Finally. Okay, so we got 2 long guys here. Looks like one might go here and one might go here. That's right. I'm actually going to put some Loctite on these just because, especially these longer bolts, if they do fall out, typically got to special order them. So nothing super crazy though. Now we have 3 longer ones, which I'm suspecting go here, here, and here. That looks about right. Damn it, we got another one that went crazy cattywampus. Okay. I don't want to take the cover off again, so. I don't know how these threads are getting jacked up because I don't think this clutch cover had been previously apart. I don't know what's going on with that one. Everything else is perfect. Why is this one being crazy? Yeah, I don't know why this keeps doing this. There we go. Finally. Alright, I was wondering why this one was giving me an issue. It wasn't going all the way down, and that's because our clutch cable bracket goes here. So anyways, now what we can do is take this oil cover off and install a fresh oil filter while we're already here. There we go. Make sure you put this spring in. That goes in there. This should be the right filter. I got a bunch of filters, so this goes in here like that. We can and shall replace this O-ring right here. Let's cut it off. There goes that one. There goes a freshie. Let's see. And this should just go on like that. We'll put our 8mm head bolt in. There's that. And then here is our long one. The long one goes in. Do a little torquey torque. Oh, come on. Well, that's as tight as we're going. We don't need to go any tighter than that. I think it's going to start stripping. I don't know why it was doing that. So anyways. Alright, so in the last video, I showed you that my cylinder, I was trying to reuse the cylinder, so I put it in the ultrasonic cleaner, and the sleeve came out of the cylinder ever so slightly. So I have the oven set at 300, and then I made this little, whatever you want to call it, this little stand, so when I heat it up, it can drop back down. Now I do not know if this worked. We might have to press it back in, but I figured this was a better way to do it. It was less invasive this way. So I think, I don't know, we might have to take it to the press. I'm not sure. Oh shit, there. Well, as long as we hold it like this now, apparently, it will be fine. Did you guys see that? It freaking, ooh, that was crazy. Alright, so yeah, technically this worked. So, I guess I gotta figure out a way to suspend this. Oh, I guess I can grab my little thingy here. Alright, so anyways, this should work now. Okay, I've done a little bit of work off camera. I went ahead and took off the Chinese cylinder, which is right there. And I got our OEM cylinder all prepped. I honed it out. I measured it. And this thing is actually like 85.01, and this one was like 85.02.03. So this one's actually even in more spec, or you know, we do have those little scratches right there, but I don't think that is going to be an issue. Now, in the previous clip, you saw that the sleeve was sliding in and out, and basically I had it in there in one little spot, like on this side. It seemed a little bit higher, so what I did is I heated it up again. I took the sleeve out, and sure enough, along the shoulder here, where this, you know, mates up against the aluminum, there was just a little bit of junk. So I cleaned that out, put it back, and you can see here I resurfaced it, and there's a couple little marks here, which I don't think are from me. Maybe it could be from this sitting on the bench. I don't know. But maybe this thing, someone did a head gasket on it previously, but it seemed as if this machine had not been opened up before. So who knows what the actual story is. So at this point, I'm going to lube this up, put this cylinder on the engine, and then we can put our head and rocker cover on. Alright, our cylinder's finally slid on. Let's go ahead and install our dowel pins here. This one goes here. That one goes there. Now the 400EX uses cylinder bolts. There's 4 of them. They are all the same length, and they all have washers. And let's see, let me double make sure they are the same length. Pretty sure they are. Yes, they are all the same length. Now the manual says to put some oil on the threads and, you know, the washers and everything, so I already did that. Now we will torque these down, but just to save some time, I'm gonna zip these down like this. Oh, why that one? I don't like that. What's going on with this guy? All right, let's try again. Seems to be working now. I don't know what that was all about. Okay, so now we gotta figure out the torque spec. I think it's like 34 foot-pounds. I gotta look it up. Okay, so the torque spec on these bolts is 33 foot-pounds. We're gonna start with 15. So here we go. There's 15. Going a crisscross pattern. There we go. There we go. There we go. This might be a little difficult. I might need to put it on my engine stand, which, I don't know. This engine's kind of heavy for the engine stand. Alright. We're locked in at 33 foot-pounds. So say a prayer for me. Let's go. Maybe we can turn the engine down a little bit. There we go. 33. Let's go back around. 33. 33. 33. Good enough. Alright, next we need to install our cylinder head studs. And now there are 3 different sizes here. 2 are one size, and we have these other 2, which are a little bit longer. So I gotta figure out which way they go here. The 2 shorter ones go on the right side, right and left. And then the really long one is gonna go in the back. You also want to make sure this shoulder is down, because that's what locks up against the head, bottoms out rather. And then this one right here is going to go right here in the front. Alright, double make sure here is snug. Okay, like that. Okay, I've cleaned off the deck of the cylinder here, and I already installed our timing chain guide. I got our timing chain on a zip tie, so we can pull that up later. It's very crucial you put this in first, and then we should be able to just drop this guy right on down. Oh wait, this is upside down. Let's go this way. Should just drop right down. Should go right there on the centering dowels. Boom! Looking beautiful. Now we can throw our head on. I already cleaned this all up. Let's see here. Now this should do the exact same. This should just drop right down. Alright. Might just need to give it a couple taps here with the dead blow evenly so it'll sit down. Yep, there it goes. Beautiful. I love it. Alright, so we have 3 washers that are one size, and we have another one that is a bigger one, and that goes right here. The rest of them all go inside the engine, just like this. It's 33 foot-pounds on these, and it says to oil the threads. These are acorn nuts. Obviously, I just put the one right here that's all rusty because it goes outside the engine. Doesn't necessarily make a big difference, I would assume. Alright, 33, 33, 33. I guess we'll do this one more time. Boom. Okay, now that the cylinder head is all torqued down, we can move on to our camshaft and cam chain. Now I have the engine here at top dead center. You can see the marking there. You can see the T. So, I also have the camshaft here, ready to rock and roll. Now one thing to make sure is this bearing right here has a sealed side, and that goes facing out. So that goes like that. Put some grease on here. Here's our little plunger. And honestly, I need to go back to the manual. I just looked at the manual to make sure which way this guy went. But I need to see what happens with that plunger right there. And then our decompression mechanism. It's got to go, I don't know how it works exactly, but it does something with that little plunger. So let me go look that up real quick. Alright, well I looked at the manual. It doesn't say anything about cam orientation, because this thing does kind of spin. This thing does spin on here, so I don't know. I guess you can see right there where it's been wearing a little bit on the edge. I don't know. we'll have to look at it a little bit more. I do want to make sure, I did want to mention that this cam sprocket right here, you do need to make sure this side is out, and it's also very important that this mark up here is pointed up. You don't want to point it like this, and then these marks can still be aligned with the head, but the problem is it's not perfectly square. So if you have this at top dead center, it's not going to work. So we got to make sure that this one is up. So this goes in here like this. So when we install our cam, we need to make sure that the sealed portion of this bearing is showing outwards, and we need to make sure when we install it that the cam lobes are facing down. Alright, something just like that. Alright, so we should be looking at something like this. You can see the lines are marked there. Now, it is cocked a little bit one way or the other right now. Until we get this thing all bolted up, it's going to be like that. Now, the manual says to use some thread locker on your 2 sprocket bolts. Now, these are some very special bolts, and they are Allen key. They're 6mm heads, so you do want to be careful with those. I'm not going to torque them. I'm going to use the blue Loctite here and torque them down by hand. Snug fit. You have to do one first, and then the manual is very clear that you want to make sure you spin this counterclockwise, so that way you don't mess something up with the decompression mechanism. I don't know. That's what it says, so that's what we'll do. Now you don't want to tighten this all the way down yet because we need to make sure we can get the other one on. So at this point I'm going to spin our engine over counterclockwise. There's our other one. Just a little bit of blue Loctite. Alright, now that we have both bolts in, we can go ahead and snug these up. Let's see, maybe we need to hold the crankshaft. Okay. Turn the engine over counterclockwise. Alright, that one's tight too. Now the reason it's important to have this seal facing this way is because the oil is pumped through this hole and goes into this cavity. Then it pushes the oil through the center of the camshaft, and I have the camshaft actually, you know, lathered in grease here, some assembly lube. But you can see right there, those are the holes. So that's what keeps the camshaft oiled. So if you had this the other way, you have the potential where the oil pressure pushes, you know, if we had the seal on this side, you have the potential for this seal to be blown out up against the camshaft sprocket here. So that is the story. Now the next piece we need is this gasket right here. And if you know anything about a 400EX, they always leak on this top gasket here. So we're going to make sure we clean it really good. And I'm going to put Honda Bond on either side of this metal gasket. And then we will put the rocker box on, torque all the bolts down, and then we'll only have a few other things to do to finish up this engine. Alright, I got our gasket on there, and I got it all done with Honda Bond. Now, I've lathered everything up with grease in here. A lot of people don't like when I do that, but that's okay. Now, I put a bunch of grease in there to try and hold these rocker arms because they are going to flop down a little bit, and I want to try and do this without taking these caps off because, well, it's going to be hard to take these 24mm caps off when it's not bolted to anything. So, let's see what we can accomplish here. Let's see here. There we go. I think we went on first try with no issues. So at this point, now I need to figure out all the bolts here, which I have. I just need to clean them up throw them in. Matter of fact, the manual gives you the torque spec for this. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it doesn't even give you the torque spec on these bolts, which they're metric 6, so 6-7 foot-pounds should be fine. Alright, so we have 3 really long ones. I don't know what the length is, but they are all the same. I think one goes here. That looks right. I think one goes here. And then, let's see. Nope. Maybe, no, not that one either. Maybe this one. Yep, that looks about right. Now, we have 2 shorter ones this size. I don't know what they are. Maybe they go, yep, I think they go right there. That would make sense. Now we have 1 bolt right here that is longer. I don't think it goes there. Let's see. I think it goes right here on this right corner. Right here. Seems to have the right amount of spacing right here. And this was the one that had the dowel. And then the rest of them are the same length, it seems like. Boom. 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 And then I got 2 more left over, and that's because they go down here on the cylinder. Now seems the appropriate time to just run these all down real, you know, just snug them up. Now we do have this one large bolt right here. It's a 12mm head. It's an 8mm bolt. Just do that right there. Now I'm going to look up the torque specs. Like I said, these should be 6-7 foot-pounds. 6-7 right here.
6-7, 6-7, 6-7.
The little 8mm, and then, like I said, the manual only gives you the torque spec for this big one right here. So who knows? All right. Well, I went ahead and torqued the top cover there, the valve tappet cover. So now that is installed, that means that our camshaft is cinched down. It's not going anywhere. So now is the appropriate time to install our camshaft chain tensioner. There is a little screw cap right here. It's a Phillips head. When it was still on the engine, I made sure to take it off because that is going to be really hard to get off. You know, if it was still on there right now, it would be really hard to get off. So anyways, I already took that cap off. I got our new gasket here. Alright, so this thing you just turn in clockwise right here. That pushes the push rod, or whatever you want to call it, the tensioner itself in. You want to make sure you hold it. And there we go. You want to get 1 bolt in at least. They do make a little tool for this to hold it, but I don't know. It's just a little piece of sheet metal, so I like to use the screwdriver. So anyways, got that one snug down. Still while holding the screwdriver. Snug this one down. Alright, now you can let go of this, and it should tension the chain. It should go counterclockwise. And honestly, this one's a little squirrely. Oh, there we go. Alright. Yeah. Beautiful. Alright, now I think our engine is basically done. I do need to put on our boot here, adjust the valves. Maybe put our caps back in here. So I'll do all that off camera, and then we'll throw it back in the frame, probably do a time lapse. Hopefully we can get this thing running. Alright, let's see if we can get this engine in here. Sucker's heavy. And there's stuff poking the crap out of me. I don't know what that's all about. Okay, I think we should get the top end in first. Like this. Okay, along things too quickly here, I think. There we go. Oh, great. That surely scratched something. I mean, the frame's already, you know, scratched and ugly, but we don't have to do more, right? All right, we're getting close. Woo! All right, should wiggle in here. There we go. All right. Now, took the old swing arm pivot bolt, you know, and chopped off the mushroom part. Got that all lined up. And I got this new one right here, our new one greased up. So it should be as simple as just tapping this in. And I greased the inside of everything too, because I knew, you know, all the grease was going to get scraped off here, as you can see. All right. Uh-oh. There we go. Pivot bolt is in. All right, well, I got the engine in there. I got all the bolts lined up. I have not torqued them down yet, but before we can go any further, I do want to work on this oil tank right here. It has this fitting you can take out, and you saw all those shavings in the previous video that were in this engine, so I suspect there might be some more in here, and there's a filter, so let's pop this off. Looks like it's just a 19 millimeter. Here we go. Let's see what happens. There we go. Popped right off. Let's see if there's any junk. Not a whole bunch, but there is some junk on there, so we need to clean that out, pop the O-ring off so we don't mess that up. Alright, I think we lucked out. No major pieces in the tank. Well, I take that back. There's a little bit in there. So maybe I have to clean this out a little bit better. We don't want metal shavings getting in our engine. Alright, so the reason we kind of been bouncing around after we got the engine installed is because the exhaust system on this thing is a little crazy. We do have a FMF power bomb header here, and you can see here this header, the end of it, the tail piece of it, is a little jacked up, and that is also because this is the muffler that was on there. Now, when I originally got this muffler was just right off whatever dirt bike it came off of, which is like a 0405 RMZ 250. And they had some crazy all thread going on. I really regret not getting any footage of that, but whatever. Anyways, I had welded this on before, and then this clamp they already had, you know, with the situation they had going on. And I tried putting some exhaust wrap in here to go from this size to this size, and obviously that blew out, and then I cranked it down and it sealed pretty good, but we can do one better. We can make this a decent exhaust system. Now I got this 1.5 inch exhaust pipe from a previous project, a video from probably a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and then I bought this little reducer from Rocky Mountain. This is for a Lex MX exhaust. This was only like $8. So this 1.5 inch pipe here, and then this is 2 inch. So this is the same pipe as that one on there, and this does not fit inside, but went to our favorite place at Harbor Freight, got this expander. We should be able to put this in the end of that pipe right there, make it to where this will slide in. And then we can make the exhaust system work by welding on a little section of 1.5 inch right there. and salvage what we already got. After purchasing this little pipe expander, I did read the packaging, and the packaging was very clear. It said, do not use on stainless steel pipe, and that is what this is. So, you know, that's how I like to do it, going against the recommendations. Now, we might need to heat this up. I'm not sure, but let's try just to hit it with the impact here. Look at that. Almost on the first shot. We're pretty close. Alright, let's go again with our pipe expander. Alright, I loosened it a little bit. I'm going to try and turn it a little bit. So, that way the, you know, it's more round. Let's see how, oh, it may have gone a little too much. I mean, it fits in there now. I don't want to burn myself here. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and cut off like 3/4 of an inch off this because, you know, further in it's tighter. So just cut a little bit off this for now. Alright, so I used the expander just a little bit more after cutting off that piece, and I put our reducer back in, and this fits nice and snug in there now. So I think that's going to work perfect. So at this point, what we need to do is take this header off, cut off this bad section here, and then we'll cut a piece of this off, mock it all up, tack it up, and then weld it all together. Oh my gosh, my shop is a mess. Oh yeah, that'll work. We'll just slide this in there, weld it, and then, you know, then it'll slide into the muffler. Alright, so I got the exhaust off here. I got it all cleaned up. I have my tungsten all set up. I went to a 1/16 tungsten. Got a 1/16 filler rod. And this is thinner. The actual head pipe is thinner than this. So we got to make sure we're on the thicker metal. Because when I was tacking it, it did kind of burn it through right there. So that's why I'm going to start on the back. And then that way, if I can figure out how it's going to work, you know, trying to make it as pretty as possible where you can see it. So, all right, got it all mounted up, and I did actually end up putting some spacers right here, a spacer, just because I guess maybe possibly when I welded this, it shifted and warped. But also because the shock reservoir right there needed a little bit more clearance, so I put 2 washers here, then I put this spacer down here. So that thing ain't going nowhere. So that looks good. Now, I don't think I explained this previously. Now, the reason I did the exhaust first is because to get this exhaust in and out as many times as I needed to, you know, the oil tank is in the way. So before we had started working on the exhaust, we cleaned out the oil tank. But at this point, it's time to put that back in, button the rest of this thing up, and see if it'll start.
Traded for it straight across, didn't hesitate. Said it just needs tuning, yeah, that that's usually the bait. Fight it up, sounding strong, till I hit that gear. First, second, third, fourth just disappeared. Metal in the oil pan, shining in the light. Told me we're going deep tonight. Clutch basket out, stator on the bench. Every busted bolt meets a wrench. If you want it right, you don't cut checks. You split the cases on a 400EX. Split the cases, lay it wide. Cranking gears all side by side. Grease on my hands, pride in the specs. Bring it back strong. 400EX, one of the greatest, no contest. Built in a garage, built to last. Tear it down, rebuild it next. All four gears in the 400EX. Cylinder off, timing chain slack. Shift fork bent, that's why it cracked. Fourth gear teeth just sheared.
All right, I think we are to the point where we can try and start this thing. Before we actually get it to start, we do want to turn it over without it starting. So I unhooked the coil right here. You could, just do the kill switch, or you could just do, pull the plug off. This is the coil wire here that comes from the CDI box. So that's the easiest for me. I have a new battery hooked up. I have our carburetor in here. I did go through it off camera. We have our fuel line hooked up. It is on reserve. Now this is old gas, and I was gonna try and drain it into my truck and just run it, but it's got this little plastic thing in here, so you can't tip it upside down. And then it was coming out really slow when I was just trying to, come out the petcock. So, anyways, at this point, I got it filled up with oil. I got 1.5 quarts of oil. Probably takes 2 quarts, but we need to just turn this thing over for now. And just turn the engine over so it pumps the oil to the head and throughout the engine. Now, unfortunately, on this engine, there is no like screw that I know of that you can, undo and let the oil come out and then put it back in. But I guess we're just going to keep on cranking it over. I'll probably crank it over 3 more times just like that, and then we'll try and start it. All right, that was 15 seconds. I'm gonna let it cool down for a second, a minute, and then I'll do it again. All right, starter cool down. Let's go again. All right. Well, hopefully we didn't flood it. I probably should have never turned the carburetor on, or the fuel valve. So anyways, hopefully we didn't flood it. Should start, I think, now, if we did everything right. Look at that. Nice and quiet. I do hear a little bit of an exhaust leak here somewhere. Yeah, a little bit on the back. Nothing crazy. Maybe when it gets hot, it'll, expand, or maybe there's a pinhole. I don't know. Well, let's do this so I don't gas myself out here. Oop, didn't like the throttle. Running good, running good. A lot of people rebuild these 400EXs, and I don't know if the people on these 400EXs, they rebuild the engine, if they're not adjusting the valves correctly, or they're totally screwing everything up. But a lot of people's 400s are really clackety. This thing seems to be really quiet. Let's go ahead and double check the oil real quick. Oh yeah, she went down, that's for sure. We're good now. tidy it up a little bit, I do want to take it outside and pressure wash it. I didn't spray paint the frame. Maybe I said that in the previous video, I don't know. This thing does have a bunch of rust. I am gonna go to Lowe's and get some rust remover stuff. I've done that before, and honestly, the paint looks a lot better, even with not spray painting anything. Just removing the rust, it looks a lot better. So I want to clean this thing up so it looks a little bit more presentable, and then we'll move on to a couple other things that need to be addressed and take it on its first test drive. After lots of scrubbing and pressure washing, look how much better this frame looks. Now obviously it's still not perfect and we have some paint coming off here, but we don't have all that ugly rust. And you know, it got rid of all like the ugly rust around here and all the little stuff that you don't necessarily notice, like there was a bunch in here. Now obviously this will most likely rust again and can rust again. However, it looks better for now, and then this will give us the opportunity to give a little spray paint touch up. So what I'm going to do now is touch up the front edge of the A-arms there with this little die grinder and this little fine Scotch-Brite pad thing. And then maybe we'll hit it with some spray paint here, or we will hit it with some spray paint. Probably this one, because this one's a little darker. And we're just going to do like a light touch up. We just want to make it look a little bit better. This is not a restoration or anything. We're just trying to make it look respectable, all right? So if y'all are trying to freaking comment down below and cry and hate and this, that, and the other, feel free, but this is what we're doing, okay?
Traded for it straight across, didn't hesitate. Said it just needs tuning, yeah, that's usually the bait. Fight it up, sounded strong, till I hit that gear. First, second, third, fourth just disappeared. Metal in the oil pan, shining in the light. Told me we're going deep tonight. Clutch basket out, stator on the bench. Every busted bolt meets a wrench. If you want it right, you don't cut.
All right, we finally made it here. It's time to put on our brand new seat. You can see here the posts on our seat are actually completely broken off. And like I said before, maybe in the previous video, this seat is rock hard. So I bought a brand new OEM one. Looks like we just have a couple bolts right here. Oh, come on. All right, let's see if this one works. Oh, snap that one off. Got lucky on that one. I guess the all the moisture soaks through the foam and then rusts the bolts. Pick this up. Yep, like that. Take that seat away. Here's our brand new OEM Honda seat, right from Rocky Mountain. This is only $165 now. Maybe I said it before in this video, maybe I didn't, I don't know. There's different part numbers for these. You got to make sure you get the one you need. This one is obviously black. There's one out there, a part number that is not black, it is red. So double check that if you order a new seat. Boom, baby. Check out this brand new seat. Look at this. Freshy. Damn, brother. That looks good. Alright, let's throw it on the bike, quad, or whatever you want to call it. Alright, moment of truth. The brand new beautiful seat. Oh man, that fits way better than the other seat. I can already tell. Boom, baby. Oh my gosh, I can't get over it. That seat looks so much better than that other crappy one. Looking good, looking good. All right, guys, here's the final product of the Honda 400EX. I got this thing done probably a week ago, and it's been sitting in the garage, and I honestly rode it outside, pressure washed it, we cleaned up the frame, did the little spray paint restoration or whatever, and I rolled it back in. I have not tested this thing because I've been getting ready for my trip to go to Little Sahara. But anyways, this thing's ready to rock and roll. I'm pretty sure it is untested. I haven't taken it down the street, but I am pretty confident in my work. So we got the transmission fixed. We also welded up the case here where I whacked it when I was trying to get the engine out. We got a new Honda OEM swing arm pivot bolt. Looks like the frame came out pretty good. We used the Rust-Oleum rust remover and then just a little bit of spray paint. Now obviously it's not perfect, but it looks a ton better than all that rust that was in there before. So I'm super happy about that. We got the brand new OEM Honda seat on there. It fits way better up against the plastics here. And not to mention, it's not as hard as that other one. Oh my gosh, that one was terrible. We also got our exhaust all finalized here. We got our slip joint perfect. We added another mount here. I got the Nerf bars all mounted up. They were pretty mangled up, especially on this left side here. Honestly, they're not the greatest, but they'll work, especially for my trip. I was also missing the bracket here off this machine because I stole it for another machine. So anyways, let's roll this thing outside, get it warmed up, and take it for its test drive. Hopefully everything goes good because today is Saturday, and I'm leaving Tuesday afternoon for Little Sahara, so we don't have any time for things to go wrong. All right, so I haven't started this thing up in probably a day or two. Actually, no, yesterday, last time I ran it. So give her a couple pumps, accelerator pump, you know, shoot some little bit of gas in there. Let's go. Look at that. Tell you what, this engine is quiet. Look at this. I don't know what all you people are doing rebuilding your 400EXs and the damn, you know, engine be ticking all crazy. Hey, I'm not here to talk crap. I'm just saying a 400EX doesn't have to be ticky. Got a little grease on here, need to wipe off. That was from back here when I pressure washed it. I also did, when I was trying to, I don't know, get something, I ripped this brake light spring, so I guess I have to order a new one of those. The tires all seem to be holding air, except for this one. I don't know, I sprayed some soapy, you know, go-go juice, some soapy water around the bead on both sides. So I don't know if it's this or if there's a nail in it or something, because this one does leak down. That's not a nail, that's a rock. I don't know. Our headlights. All right, we got both on high beam, maybe one on low beam. So I guess there's also a dead lizard in there, I think. You can see his tail. It's pretty funny. So anyways, if we're riding at Glamis at night, we do have headlights. Got our flag mount right here. Let's see what it sounds like. Alright, seems to run pretty good. Let's go and take it for a test drive real quick. I think we're good. I guess make sure the brakes work. guys are even able to hear me. Maybe I'll put my microphone somewhere different here. Alright, let's try reverse. Look at that. First gear. Let's go this way. We never go this way. Yeah, I don't know why this thing's shaking so bad, but we're on the pavement. I don't think that'll be an issue on, you know, sand or dirt or whatever. And I'm not gonna be running these tires at the dunes anyways. Front brakes work. Alright, that's our Glamis test ride qualifier, whatever you might want to call it. Let's see here. Starts up good. Looks like someone's got some sort of crazy connection going on here for the switch. Let's see if we put it in gear, obviously with the button. Let's see, clutch. Alright, so that switch works. Alright. And then reverse, you put it in first gear first. Turn this, and then you shift down again. And then you got reverse. Obviously, you got a reverse limiter. Alright, good enough. Alright, well, to finish off the video, let's go and get the sand paddles on this machine. I appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end. Be sure to subscribe and see how this thing does out in the Little Sahara sand dunes out there in Oklahoma. So let's go and take this bike off, get this bike on, and get the tires on. Alright, well, we're about to take off this wheel anyways, but something does not sound good here. Oh, our pads are metal on metal. That's always good. I don't know if you can see it right there, but they are metal on metal. Especially this one. Actually, this one right here is the one that's metal on metal. This one's got a little bit of life left. So I'll replace that. I guess I probably have enough brakes to do both. Let's check the rear real quick. I thought that I did check the rear. Oh man, they're kind of low too.
Honestly, can probably get the, oh, look at this. This should not be here. This should be backed up all the way against this. Probably should double check this chain situation. None of these bolts are original. Every bolt right here is different. Oh yeah. Oh great. Looks like we got a little bit more on the to-do list.
Real Jesse Peterson finds in the rough, dirt bike